Okay, so it's been over a year now since SEGA has bought Rovio, and they failed us. The noise of this purchase from SEGA buying Rovio, obviously, people expected some great things to come out of it. We have a proper gaming company over the Sonic heads and executives coming over Rovio now, and we expected them to do some great things with the Angry Birds series. And it being over a year, the most things we've seen, some hats being added to Angry Birds 2. I don't know about you, but I think bringing back some of the classic games would be a lot better than bringing some hats. So stick around, because we're going to talk about some of the things we expected from SEGA to do with Rovio, and we're going to see what they have been doing with Rovio since they've purchased it. Turn back the clock, and we have to go all the way back to August 2023, where SEGA officially announced the acquisition of Rovio, the Finnish company that was obviously creating Angry Birds, and the deal was valued at a whopping $7 million. Over $700 million. $775 million approximately. And that's 706 million euros if you're in Europe, which I am. It was a strategic move for SEGA at the time, but seeing what they've done, I don't know if they'll ever get their money back. Why would SEGA, a company that owns Sonic, one of the most beloved characters in gaming history, even touch Rovio? So the main reason for them even thinking of purchasing Rovio is because Rovio has a significant foothold in the mobile gaming marketplace. And basically, just to let you know, over $100 billion is in revenue from the mobile gaming industry. So we can understand why Rovio and SEGA especially wants a cut of this mobile money, really. This access to the developers behind this 2009 gaming phenomenon strengthens the mobile presence of SEGA, and SEGA has mostly been known for being on console games like the DS, the Dreamcast, all these OG game consoles that was made way before I was born. And I don't even know how you can play the newest Sonic games, probably on Nintendo Switch, but other than that, you don't really know of them. That is the exact reason why I assume they have purchased Rovio, having a foothold in the gaming market. But I don't really understand why they wouldn't do the research. They basically removed all their back catalog, so it's kind of just the bad games now left. But look, they've been doing it for so long now that we've just been adapted to just crying about wanting the old games back. And with SEGA just buying Rovio, that caused a lot of stir in the community and in the world. It was all over the news and everybody knew of it, just bringing more eyes to both companies, which is really good for business and really good for their games. I think that we all saw was the excitement for the classic game revival, which I'll get into a bit more later, but there was a lot of expectation surrounding SEGA having a new look down on some of the older Rovio games and just deciding to bring them back. And they haven't done any of this. Matter of fact, I don't even know what they have been doing other than create the Angry Birds movie 3. It's quite wild to see. What they did say back in 2020 was that they wanted to focus on newer games, which I still don't understand. When you have a company with $1 billion, there's no way that you don't have enough employees to simply run a game up to the newest version of software. Not a hard process at all. But again, I'm not a developer. I don't understand the costs and the maintenance and all that. But I think they just don't make enough money from these games. It's crazy to see that before SEGA even got into the picture, Rovio had so many games in development, and we've probably seen about 2 of them actually fully be released and maintained more than 1 year. That is insane. But I do believe that SEGA does have some other future plans after the Angry Birds movie 3 to get some newer games up and running. That does not include the older games. I know that we would have got some type of news or some type of premium pay subscription to get these classic games back if Rovio even decided or thought of bringing some of these games back. And also just some of the licensing from this game is just expired, so they can't republish them. The thing that I've seen a lot of people just dislike about this acquisition is that instead of just bringing back the franchise and then building on it, they've decided to destroy the previous backlog of the games. Obviously, y'all know about the before 2019, all the games, mostly before 2019, all the games have been removed, and they decided to continue expanding the franchise like nothing had happened, which did rub a couple of people in the community a bit wrong, but I can understand why you don't want to just live on your legacy in the past instead of brought in the future. I've seen some type of independence position that Rovio does have within the SEGA umbrella, let's say, and they kind of operate by themselves, not really heavily influenced by SEGA, but we have seen evidence of SEGA actually acknowledging their new purchase of Angry Birds, and you better hope they would acknowledge them because they spent nearly $1 billion on it, obviously. But they do have some things that I wasn't really expecting SEGA to give to Rovio, especially from their history of just flopping everything. everything they touch. Like, they do have a lot of creative freedom that is allowed for the Rovio team, and they just retained this after the acquisition, which is quite bizarre because they weren't doing much with the Angry Birds formula. But it's nice to see that they are given that space that needed, that a lot of companies when purchased normally get crunched into a box and then they just kind of dwindle away because they don't have the traditional game formula. The one thing that I feel like we can never, and no matter what Rovio does, we can't take away from them, is adaptability. They have successfully adapted the Angry Birds Slingshot game, the classic one, the 2009 Finger That Green Pigs, to so many different genres, and they done such a good job at it. Like, we can all agree there's classic bangers out there from Angry Birds Epic. It's been on an RPG game. Wild. How did they get there? I don't know. Great game. And a kart racing game like Mario Kart and Angry Birds Go. Two games that are some of the most beloved, might be even more popular than the original game that was a spin on a different genre. Nobody can take that away, that they done wonders to this. And I also have some games in the vault that, oh, not really in the vault, kind of in the discontinued category, that had great potential. Like, I feel like Angry Birds Racing was a great concept, and some of the other games, I'm not going to get too into depth, but also like some of the smaller games like Angry Birds Kingdom and ones like that. One thing that we do see from Sega in the other games and movies and stuff like that that they have shown is that they do respect community engagement and community feedback, events and promotions, which we have seen multiple times, not in both positive and negative light, but we have seen them change things due to community backlash, let's say, like especially like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. If you've seen the first trailer of that, the original one, it was terrible. No, I didn't like that. You didn't like that. Nobody thought it was okay. It didn't look right. It also could have been a huge marketing stunt because, wow, that movie was everywhere for a couple of months. And once it released, showed results. That's why we're on the third movie right now, Shadow. I'm actually pretty excited for that one. And they have changed the initial design of the whole game because the community didn't like it. They wanted to respect the community. Obviously, the movie did well. They continued with the design that everybody was happy with. Great. Now we just need to see this effect on Rovio. Rovio has obviously done a little bit with fan engagement and feedback. Like, once we wanted the original games back, they gave us the original game, and it cost money. Not exactly what we wanted, but they did give us something. I mean, they gave us something, so we have to be somewhat happy with that, but it costs money. So how are you gonna get a free game to charge money? I don't know. They didn't do all the steps correctly. They removed it from the App Store eventually. The whole point of me getting to the conclusion that Sega has failed us is simply because, to be fair, we did have some expectations seeing a new ownership of a great franchise in the Sonic heads of Sega now purchasing Rovio for a lot of money. So we expected them to do a lot of things for the games, the movies, and just the series and the whole franchise that the asset of Angry Birds is. And they did, I mean, a little bit. They gave us hats in Angry Birds 2, which I don't know for you, Sega. There's no way you got 700 million worth back in hats in that game. Maybe you did. I don't know. But there's no way you're doing that and you spend this much money on a franchise for a movie and also for some game items. And maybe a series on Netflix that nobody watches. That also sadly exists. But we did expect them to give us some type of games back or some type of subscription. Just something back. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing it correctly, like the people at Jetpack Joyride. They are doing an exceptional job at bringing their classic games and mixing them with their future franchise and the newer members that don't remember it, and also just people that want to come back and play the games. Sega, you have failed us for now, but there is a bit of hope after the Angry Birds movie. But if you don't ever give us anything after that, I'm sad to say, but you just failed the Rovio community in the belief that you might bring us back to the former glory.